Hello everybody. In today's video I am starting new series of videos where I'm going to answer some questions that you ask me in comments, and it will be like several videos. We will talk about one matter, about one thing, then we'll split it in few videos because some of those things are there is a lot of information that you have to learn, so I have to split it in few videos. In today's video, I'm going to talk about MIDI messaging, musical instrument digital interface messaging. It is sending information from one device to another device that can send or understand those information. So, we have hardware connections, and we can connect hardware to software. We can communicate between hardwares. Hardwares are those instruments that you can see: keyboard, several keyboards, sound modules, and something like that. Or not only keyboards. This is one hardware too. Controller. There is another hardware here. Mackie. There is another hardware here as well. So this is hardware. But if we want to control, make connection between hardware and computer, and then control some virtual instruments. That is then we have to make a connection between hardware and software. So let us start. We have two types of the connection. MIDI connection. MIDI connection, it is like standard MIDI connection, and we have another one, USB. So both of the things are the same. Actually, we are sending informations. So concentrate that. Now we are sending information from one instrument to another, and how many information we'll understand how many information we can make between those instruments, send or receive, depends of the setting in the keyboard, what keyboard is capable to send or receive. Now that is one music instrument or equipment. On the back we have MIDI input. It means it will receive information in this connection when we connect this cable from another source. It will receive information. Depends of which information this guy can receive, on which information it will react. You have to read manual which information this guy can read. Now, so that is informations are going, for example, from one source. I will take this cable. Sorry about this mess with cables. So now this cable is coming from Korg PA3. I will connect it here. So now I'm sending information from MIDI output from Korg PA3 to MIDI input this guy. If I want now next one, if I want to send output information from this guy to Korg, then I have to connect MIDI output from here to MIDI input Korg. Beside of MIDI output and MIDI input, we have MIDI through. What is that MIDI through? For example, if I want to send information from another device to this one, I will put it to MIDI input. Now if I want to control with this instrument Korg another device in a row, then I will put this cable to MIDI through. It means information are coming here, going through this guy and going to another instrument. So receiving information MIDI input, sending information MIDI output, and through, it means just transferring information from this MIDI input to another device. Now, some of keyboards or another equipment, they have more than one MIDI input or MIDI output, like this guy. This guy has one MIDI input, let me see, but it has two MIDI outputs, two regular MIDI outputs, 1 and 2. Because this is controller, sometimes you want to control with this guy two different thing without using MIDI through connection. Now, beside of that standard connection, we have USB cable what we can connect here. Now we can connect this to computer and send information from this guy to the computer and control software like Cubase or Pro Tools or virtual instruments. Now, inside of this guy we have MIDI interface, and this USB connection is acting, this cable is acting like MIDI cable, because MIDI interface is sending message to computer and computer will understand those messages. Now, for this type of connection we need MIDI driver for computer, for software that we want to control. MIDI driver, when we connect this to any USB input on computer, MIDI driver will recognize what is connected, and then through that connection we will be able to communicate to this guy. Now, if you have old instrument like I have here, M1 and DX7, in this case, those instruments, they don't have USB connection. Then you have to buy MIDI interface separate. That is MIDI interface. Now you will connect MIDI interface to the computer. You will install driver for this MIDI interface. And then you will do standard connection between this MIDI interface and those Yamaha DX7 or Korg. So that's it, how it works. MIDI inputs, this is MIDI interface with two MIDI inputs and two MIDI outputs. So now I can connect here, I can connect DX7, and in another one connection I can connect M1. Those are inputs, and then outputs from here goes to DX7 and M1. Now I have A and B, Motu fast line USB MIDI interface, and on my software or any software, it does virtual instrument or any another software, I will be able, if I have installed the driver, I will be able under MIDI outputs, I will be able to see fast line USB connection, Motu, and then I will be able to see output A, B, input A, B, so, and I will know what is under A. If it's M1 under A output, I will know that, and this DX7 is going to be under B output. So this is this. Now, as I mentioned, that is for old keyboards, but new keyboards, they have already in the keyboard, they have built MIDI interface. So you can use USB cable or those cables. Which cables you use, it doesn't matter. It is same kind of information, just it's what is better for you. Actually, if you are connected to computer, you have to use this one if you don't have MIDI interface. But if you are connecting to other instruments, between Korg, for example, and Catron, and you want to send some messages, you want to communicate, then in this case, you have to use this guy, those standard connection. But with Korg, you can make this connection. If you maybe didn't know, Korg is very, very special keyboard. It has complex operating system, and it is able to receive information. If you use this connection to port, just connect where you put USB on front. You have to, you can do that on PA3 or PA4. But with other models, you have to read manual. Is that possible to do? You cannot do that with Catron. You cannot do that with this guy, Genus. When you connect it in Genus will it will be unknown device. It will not recognize that. But you can connect something else if you are doing with a connection with Integra 7. For example, if you have software on your iPad for editing Integra 7, then you can buy wireless Bluetooth MIDI connector to Integra 7 and put it, and you can wirelessly communicate. But that Bluetooth connection can work only in closer range, not bigger range. Now, which kind of information we are sending? we are sending information that are related to communication between instruments. How many information we can send depends of which information your keyboard can send and which information another keyboard can receive. You have to see that in manual, which kind of information. You saw in some of my video that I can communicate between Korg and the computer with transpose things, and you can send messages. For example, look at this. You can send message from Korg PA3 to Kronos, and you can send transpose message from PA3 to Kronos, and whatever is down, it will be up, but there is just connection between those instruments because both of them are capable to do that connection. If you have another keyboards, maybe you will be limited with connectivity and type of information that you can send. That's why you have to read that on the end of manual usually are information about MIDI messaging, and you will see what you can send, what you can receive on that instrument. So some of you were confused. You were thinking if you connect keyboard, for example, PA3 to software or Genos to Cubase, you were thinking that you can now download your setting, your sounds and everything from Genos to software and then disconnect Genos and have it everything in the software. No, it is not that. It is you are not doing this. You're not sending sounds, styles, and you are sending you are just triggering information. If when you play, you are sending information, which key is playing, what is velocity, how long is playing, what is pitch, and that information computer will write down. And after that, when you connect that keyboard, you will be able to send that information to the keyboard. Keyboard will understand, and keyboard is going to play that information. That is those kind of information, not sounds, not those things, just information. For example, if you have M1 and you want to save all setting from M1 and transfer to another M1, you can send those information, Sysix information to software, and then to another M1, and in this case you can transfer everything what is here to another M1. But you cannot transfer sounds from M1 to day 7. You can just send some information to control some stuff from day 7 through M1 controls, whatever M1 is capable to control. In past, the most powerful controller was D7. I found out that the D7 has more power in sending MIDI information and behaving as a MIDI controller than M1. It has possibility to write particular number message and save it inside, but this option you don't have now in Genos. You don't have in many keyboards, but Day7 it has everything. Long time ago it had all those information. So that was really something that surprised me at that time. So when I bought this guy, 1985, at that time I was sending me information to some another devices. For example, for this guy, I had another devices, what I had later. Actually, I had M1, and I was able to memorize and send information from day 7 to M1. I was able to send some information from M1, but not a lot of information like from day 7. But now, only keyboard arranger that is behaving like a controller, MIDI controller, it is PA3, where you can send every kind of information, you can save, and you can control everything. What is that controller? Let me explain you what is controller. Now I have over here one controller, I have here another controller, I have another controller, there is another controller. Let me grab this controller, just a moment. This controller is similar to this keyboard. Actually, it is keyboard without keys. Same thing, keyboard without keys. So it is same like this guy, just this is old model, this is new model. Now, imagine that I am showing you this keyboard. So because it is same, just doesn't have key, but for me it's much easier to lift this than whole keyboard hold. Now you can see I can here put some messages here, some codes, MIDI codes, and I can send those messages to another instrument, or I can send them to my software. So I think about those, it has MIDI output, MIDI output, MIDI input, MIDI through, everything like this one. Just this is new model. It has some more features inside. So about sending messages, which messages that we can send, how it will react, and we will talk in another video, because this video is going to be too long for all those information. So I showed you controller, but now in next video we will talk about messaging between instruments, between software, and what is a controller. So we will learn about everything in a couple of next videos. Thank you very much for watching this video, and have a great day.